You've probably seen it scrolling online. Divorce parties, girl dinners, celebrating a brand new life. That's the story of divorce you get on TikTok. But there's this viral video from a channel called Ask an Older Man that's pushing back, and pushing back hard. It's a pretty stark warning, arguing that this whole celebratory vibe is actually hiding a much, much darker reality. So let's get into it and break down this perspective.
This right here, this is the central claim that kicks the whole thing off. The source argues we've totally crossed the line. It's not just that divorce is a private, difficult thing that happens anymore. Now, it's something that's being actively celebrated and even encouraged online. And this isn't just some passing trend. He's framing it as a major cultural clash.
So what does this promotion of divorce actually look like? When you open up TikTok, what's the story you're actually being told? Let's take a look.
What we're seeing are all these videos that are just highlighting the immediate wins. Women celebrating losing weight, finally getting a break from childcare, the freedom to have girl dinners whenever they want. The whole narrative is about liberation, empowerment. It's framed as an absolute, unqualified victory. A win is a win, right?
But here's the counterpoint. The source argues this is a really dangerous fantasy, that these viral clips, they're just the highlight reel, a super carefully curated performance that completely, and maybe intentionally, ignores the harsh realities of what happens when the party's over.
Now, to understand why the source sees this as such a fantasy, we have to get to the root of it all. And it really comes down to this fundamental clash over what marriage even is.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole conflict. On one side, you've got the modern idea that marriage is basically a vehicle for your personal happiness. If you're not happy, you leave. But on the other side, you have the source's view, that marriage is a partnership built to endure life's difficulties, not some kind of happiness guarantee. It's a massive difference in philosophy.
So the crucial point from this perspective is that marriage isn't about feeling good all the time. It's supposed to be a structure, something built to withstand pressure, stress, and even boredom, all the normal parts of any real long-term relationship.
Okay, so if the TikTok narrative is just a fantasy, what's the reality? What are these unseen consequences that the source claims are being hidden from view?
According to the source, a few weeks or months after those celebratory videos are posted, a very different reality starts to set in. The daily grind of single parenthood, which is not easy, intense financial strain, a chronic lack of time, and a profound loneliness. These are the parts that, well, they just don't make it into the viral TikToks. And this quote, it illustrates that immediate fallout perfectly. The source highlights stories just like this one, arguing that these decisions, framed as choosing happiness, can lead directly to severe financial hardship, like racking up a ton of credit card debt just to keep a roof over your head.
But look, beyond the personal and financial cost to the adults, the source argues that the true and often invisible victims in all of this are the kids who are caught right in the middle.
This is the core of his argument about the kids. The idea is that when children don't get to see their parents work through conflict, stress, and disagreement in a stable home, they miss out on learning absolutely crucial relationship skills. They essentially grow up without a blueprint for how a long-term partnership is supposed to function.
And that leads to a much broader, more systemic argument from the source. He claims this trend isn't just cultural. It's actually being encouraged by the legal and financial systems that are built around divorce.
So the argument here is that the system itself can provide financial incentives to leave. Things like alimony, child support, and a 50-50 split of assets. On paper, this can create a situation where leaving seems not just possible, but actually financially better for one person, even when a whole lot of debt is also part of that equation.
To make this more tangible, the source pulls an anecdote where a woman was getting $7,500 a month. That's combined alimony and child support. This figure is used to show just how high the financial stakes can be for the person who has to pay.
So the crucial point here is this massive perceived imbalance. According to the speaker, you've got this combination of social encouragement and legal frameworks that makes it relatively easy for one person to decide to end the marriage, while the financial and personal cost to the other person can be just devastatingly high.
This all leads up to the final section of the video, a direct and, frankly, urgent warning aimed specifically at men who are trying to navigate this modern environment.
And this is the central warning right here. It's the idea that love, no matter how strong you think it is, simply is not enough to protect a marriage from a cultural and social environment that might be actively working against it.
So what's the solution he offers? Well, the source lays out this 4-step guide for men, and it's framed not as romantic advice, but as a kind of risk assessment. The message is to move beyond just emotion.
First, stop ignoring the reality of the social and legal landscape. Second, ask better, tougher questions about your partner's real beliefs. Third, understand the legal contract you're actually signing. And finally, and maybe most importantly, judge her commitment by her actions when things get hard, not just by her words.
So, to wrap this whole argument up, we are living in a time where walking away from a marriage is often presented as an act of empowerment, of victory. But this celebratory story, according to the source, comes at the cost of hiding the profound, long-term consequences for everyone involved, especially the kids.
And that leaves us with this final, really challenging question from the source. Are you choosing a partner, or are you choosing a potential outcome? It basically reframes what we think of as the most romantic decision of our lives into a strategic one, urging you to consider not just the person, but the potential consequences if it all falls apart. It's a pretty provocative thought to end on.